Welcome, everyone. We've made it to the final session, the final countdown. Thank you so much for being part of this initial journey with us. And I just want to do a couple quick thank yous from the back end. So many of you may not know, I'm actually in Atlanta with the tech team, and we were so very fortunate to have Realize Production help us with this. And they're an amazing crew. And so there are actually five guys that have been working with us exclusively: Pat, Gray, Devin, Skylar, and Jonathan. I hope I didn't mess that up. But thank you all so much. It really made this incredible for us. Also, thank you all for being a part of this. This has been a tremendous success from my point of view, and it's just been so fun. And also, I want to pass it over to Dr. Jobs for another thank you.
So as I mentioned in the opening, the best thing that the steering committee did was to invite Megan Rogers to be our program chair. So as I said, she willed this to happen, and we were very supportive of her making this happen. So Megan, we have gotten you a gift card for $500 to help with your moving expenses. To help with your perhaps you can buy a doormat or a couple of chairs. But anyway, I'll be sending this to you, and it's from our hearts with tremendous gratitude for the work that you've done.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. I'm probably about to tear up, which, as I've mentioned in at least one session today, does not happen often. Thank you all so much for all of your support, all of the kind words from attendees, presenters, steering committee, so on and so forth. Just thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I'll probably buy a water.
Yeah, we owe you such a debt of gratitude, Megan, and we're so thankful for you. And just thank you for making this happen. Thank you to the steering committee. Also, another thank you to all of our sponsors. One of the things, and we're about to jump into the feedback from all you from the poll, which has been so cool to see. But one of the things that has stood out is just how impactful it was for it being free, and how much that opened the door for so many junior investigators. So with that, thank you for all of our sponsors that made this possible. It made all the difference in the world. So with that, actually, if we want to jump into those slides, we can talk about some of what we see. So as you can see here on the first question on should this be an annual event, there seems to be consensus that this should, in fact, be an annual event. So, that one I think is statistically significant. So if we jump to the next one. So as far as preferred format, pretty decent split here between hybrid and virtual. And so that'll be something for the next conference to consider. But I think there are options there. One of the things we had discussed too early on in this process was, what if we did a virtual conference but had a hotel that people knew to meet up at if they wanted that in person, and kind of create a quasi hybrid. So it'll be something that's worth considering as we go along. But overall, there was a lot of support both for hybrid and also for the virtual options. So if we jump to the next slide when you can, Pat. Perfect. Okay. As far as when to hold it, this is also something that we debated because so many of us are used to April, of course, for this meeting, but it was a pretty strong majority that a lot of people actually liked it over the summer. So, that's another thing that the next group will need to consider. But, there's a lot of interest for keeping it around this time, which makes some sense because there aren't that many competing conferences right now, it doesn't seem. For our next slide. Should we maintain it as free? And this is where, as you see, there was, quite strong consensus that the price point is very helpful. Keeping it free really does reduce barriers and open doors. And so, that's another thing to consider. And again, another reason why we thank our sponsors so much who made this possible. And for the last slide, one of the big things we've been thinking about is what is the next step? And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about this afternoon. And part of that is, what is the interest in developing a new organization that's really focused on strong scientific focus for suicide and self-harm? And as you can see, there is extremely strong interest in doing this. And obviously, there are a lot of questions to be answered with that. And we can take the slides down now. There's a lot to be figured with that, but nonetheless, the interest is there and the enthusiasm appears to be there. So, so that's awesome. And with that, I want to open it up to the panel, to the committee. What do you think of these data, and where do you think we go from here?
I can jump in.
Okay, no, jump in. Okay, no, it's my fault for not picking on someone, but go for it, Amy.
Okay. I am very excited to see the results of the poll. I wrote all those questions, so hopefully they were easy enough to follow, but we were really interested in hearing feedback from all of you. I think this has exceeded all of our expectations from when we started planning this months ago. I think it was maybe August or September we started sort of planning this, and as many things do, started off with a few emails or phone calls between some of us and getting this put into motion. And I think there's a lot of good summary taken from those polls that, yes, there's an interest in keeping this going. Yes, there's an interest in helping keep this free for students, early career researchers. And I think we're just really open to any other feedback that you have for us, since this was the first time putting this on. So whatever is coming in through the chat here would be helpful, and hopefully at least met your expectations, if not exceeded yours as well.
If not, we will give you a full refund.
Exactly.
There are a number of comments about the chat feature. I also think it's been great. It just feels like the conferences had such good vibes, and it's partly all the messages in the chat. It feels more interactive, and people have been so supportive and positive to speakers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and there's a lot of discussion going on about cost, and some people being willing to pay for registration to make it free for others. I think a lot of people are interested in an in-person event, but also keeping it hybrid and virtual for those who are not able to travel. And so we're, again, open to a lot of suggestions and feedback there.
I think one of the cool things, and this is something Dr. Jobs got us onto early on, I think it was really important, was just the importance to focus on early career and accessibility. You know, make it so people can make it to the conference. So I think continuing to have that be a driving force, that it's open to all researchers, and that, you know, this is a place where you can bring your work, I think it's going to be really important.
To add a comment about the, oh, go ahead, Megan.
I will say I've been watching on the chat in a variety of sessions across the 2 days, just how much everybody is enjoying the chat feature. And if we do go in person in some capacity, whether that's hybrid or fully in person, I'd love to have some sort of capacity to kind of continue this ongoing chat function during the middle of talks, because I was seeing a lot of conversations that would not have been possible without having that feature for us to just all interact, rather than sitting in a room, maybe some of us tweeting at each other, maybe the rest of us, you know, sitting pensively.
Yeah. Dr. Klonsky.
Yeah, I agree. It was remarkable how personable the chat feature felt. In terms of the question about a future organization, I think there's a lot of potential interest in that, but also a lot of uncertainty about what exactly the goal would be. So I think I'll just share that I think some of the impetus is that a good chunk of us, at least in North America, have been using AAS as an annual meeting, and a good chunk of us have left, and we're sort of feeling a void that this was that this meeting filled. And so could there be something moving forward? Another potential perspective is, there's a really strong international suicide research group. Europe has a regular meeting that's really strong, but North America doesn't sort of like have an equivalent. AAS was sort of kind of filling that, but had a lot of other goals as well. So I think that was some of the thinking behind, could one possible future be not just additional meetings, but an additional organization? But of course, in the end, it's about what people want, what people need. And so,
Yeah.
I hope we can keep the conversation going about, what are the answers to those questions.
I agree. And this meeting, and too, part of just being at this meeting, I knew it would be this way, but I realized how much I missed this when the meeting started. Sometimes you don't realize what you lost until you have it again. And I think you're right that having that home is so important. And I think it's worth spending the time investing in and building.
The thing I was going to say is that, as we've come out of the pandemic to varying degrees, we've seen some success and some mixed results with hybrid conferences. I have to say for myself, I was at the Psychotherapy Researcher Conference here in Washington. It was a wildly successful conference. It was from an economic standpoint and from a turnout standpoint, and they had large rooms where people could sit spaced out. There's all the social interactivity that you would have, but then they had a whole bank of cameras in the back of the room where it could be sent out online. And so one of the things that I was musing over was, as this tends to be more of an academically based group, that perhaps universities could sponsor a on-site, and that for people that want to get themselves there, we try to keep it free, especially free for students, but maybe we could help support students differently. But I want the student part to be free, absolutely. And if they want to come to the actual conference and then do the dinners and all that kind of stuff. The issue is when you get a more organized organization, it gets expensive, and there's a lot of administration involved. So even if we were to stage this at a hotel, say in Denver or Chicago, which would be central for everybody, perhaps in North America, ordering coffee is like $500 for a pot of coffee. I mean, it gets ridiculous really fast.
Oh, yeah.
So one thought would be to have a university-based home. This happened in the UK one time where actually people stayed in student housing, which was sort of interesting. But if you didn't want to, you could stay at a hotel. And then we could have a remote, and because I just love the fact that there are people from Australia and from, I just saw a presentation from Turkey. I mean, it's just, that part is to me priceless. No pun intended, but I really would like to keep it affordable for students. There are great conferences in Europe. The ISR conference is fantastic, but it's expensive. So for students, it's cost prohibitive.
Yeah, absolutely. And related to that, I'll selfishly mention, so given the focus on keeping it affordable, fundraising really never stops. So, and while we're very thankful for this year's sponsors, there is a need for next year's sponsors. So one of the things that is worth mentioning, if you have an interest in helping support us, please email me. So we have it set up. There's a foundation account at MSU, so at Mississippi State. So you can actually donate and have it be tax deductible, and you get our wonderful alumni newsletter as well. They assume that if you give to Mississippi State, you must be an alum. But with that, we would love to have support to be able to do this again. So if you have interest in that, please email me. I'd be more than happy to talk with you and get that started.
And a special thanks to Michael for setting up that fund so that we could donate and others could donate and have this all go smoothly with all the funds going for this symposium.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you to Michael for being in Atlanta for 2 days to be on site with the team to help us solve lots of little glitches here and there.
It's been fun, and this is a crazy crew. They know how fun. Yesterday was what? Yesterday was passive aggressive Thursday. Today is what? Cliche Friday. We're trying to do as many cliches as we can. Yeah, if you can't have fun at work, where can you have fun? So no, it's been a pleasure, and just again, the team has been wonderful. So yeah, I can't say enough about them if you're planning a virtual conference or an in-person one.
I do want to add that we are paying attention to the comments in the chat that are coming in right now. Jonathan, we will get right on those tote bags. They're going to be free virtual tote bags, probably poorly drawn in MS Paint, but I will get right on that. I'll find the best graphic designer in the house, which is probably not me. But I think another more serious note that I want to say is we keep harping on the desire to get your feedback about what you liked, what you didn't like. And in that vein, we are planning to put together a post-conference feedback survey that's going to be sent out to everybody who registered and attended and presented at the conference. We genuinely want to hear the good, the bad, the ugly. What would you like to see in the future? What topics would you like to see in the future? We'd love to get as much exhaustive feedback as we possibly can. So be on the lookout for that. I think all of us are probably going to take a long weekend right after this, but within the next few weeks, that should be sent out to you all. So go ahead and jot down some notes now and be ready to throw it all at us.
Yeah, a little bit of a different thought, but just something that struck me that I wanted to mention. This has been such a surreal experience for all of us. This was an idea that we threw out there to see what would happen. And I remember when we, first opened up, the portal and we saw how many applications or how many abstracts there were. And we looked at the quality. It's like, oh, shoot, this is real. This is real. And the whole time to stand to see this and see, the quality of this conference and to realize this is a real thing. This idea became a real thing. But it's only because all of you bought into it. All of you submitted your work and said, yes, we would like to share our work with you in this venue. And you took the time and you've been so interactive with us and so active. So thank you again for all of that, for taking a chance on us, for spending the time to, submit to our inaugural conference. It means a ton. That's what made this happen. And Megan.
And there was a question about cost, and I don't have the exact details. It was not 600,000. I think it was, there we go. I was going to say more like 30 plus a lot of volunteer work. But even if that was all paid time, we're still coming in way under what a typical conference would cost or what a hybrid conference will cost. Yeah. Not to say that we shouldn't go that way, but obviously impacts the cost.
I can help with that because I'm treasurer of another organization. So, the cost for this one will be in the 40s, all said and done. I'm chair of TEDCUP, which is 180 members. And our conference, last year we wrote a check for $200,000.
Wow.
So the cost piece is interesting because, quite literally, I just made a few phone calls and some emails and we basically got there. And there were individuals and there were people contributing in memory of a lost loved one. There were all the major organizations in our field. And so it wasn't a big lift. And that gives me hope that we could raise even more money, especially with more time to do it. But I like the idea of this being lean and mean and not top heavy with overhead. So I'm a little bit nervous to, I want it both ways. I'd like to create like a society, a research society of some sort. But I am just aware of like what happened to AS and what can happen to organizations and how they can lose sight of their mission and get diffused. Yeah. So those are my concerns. Is I really feel like what I said early on, that this is such a hard area to do research in, that we need to support each other and we need young investigators. And the fact that we had 75% early investigators and students is just like a dream come true to me. And I don't want to lose that. And so I know if we keep it free, that's probably how we retain that crowd. But I want the quality not to be sacrificed, and I want it to remain focused on the science.
And what I will say, and granted I'm biased, and I also have the TED team right in front of me, but separate from that, the quality of, despite the snafus we had here or there, the quality of the platform, the quality of, the product we got for the amount that we paid what I would stack up against any conference I've ever been at. I think tech wise, the app that we had, the integration, A, it was excellent. And B, I'll again brag on Megan because I know she won't do it. And, some that she can. The team over here, the tech team, has bragged on her incessantly as pretty much the most helpful client ever as far as getting the stuff in, getting them what they need so that they can do their job. They actually said, I don't know how we would make this work in this platform if we didn't have a client like Megan.
Well, and with our timeline, which was obviously ambitious, we sometimes refer to this as the JIT conference, the just-in-time conference.
Yes, it was.
And for that, I think we have to thank all of you who attended, because I have the sense that people came to this symposium with the approach or the attitude was, let's make this work. This is going to be great. We're going to share our best science. We're going to consult with each other. And it's been positive on all sides.
Oh, thank you, Jonathan Stringer. I needed that in my life too. Someone has to bring her down, back down to earth.
Well, on that note, I actually I'm going to try to share my screen real quickly. We've done some real quick work on some tote bags, courtesy of Keeney Law. So I'm going to go ahead and share our initial sketch in for you all.
Nice.
That's pretty good for the amount of time you had.
There you go.
So 100% of the credit is going to Keeney Law right now, but I think we have a really great start. So go ahead and screenshot this, download it. It might take a little bit too much bandwidth for a free conference for us to email this to you, but just giving you options, Dr. Singer.
And if we paid 600,000, it would be not virtual; it'd be a real tote bag.
Yeah, he would pay for shipping and handling.
So I know at the very end, Megan's going to take us out. Are there other thoughts that anyone would like to throw in about next steps for us, whether conference or organization, before we turn this over to Megan?
I've seen some comments in the chat about brainstorming possible locations if we have this as a hybrid version. So if it will be on a university, if there are hotels or other lodging options available other than dorms, we can just start brainstorming that. And if you are all eager to visit Bowling Green, Kentucky, my campus has a hotel right on it. And I'm sure there are others that have airports closer to their universities.
As a former resident advisor who worked in the dorms for several years, I don't see what the concern is. Why don't you all want to stay in the dorms? Like they were my home for 3 years, 4 years,
sure.
really.
Yeah. I didn't have air conditioning either.
I did not either.
Okay, I did. That part's unacceptable.
That's why.
I wasn't in the South. All right, Megan, let's turn it to you.
Ooh, I really don't think you should turn it to me yet. I'm a little bit overwhelmed and emotional and just honestly so grateful for just this entire community as a whole. Like the people of this community, are what makes it what it is. I also don't have grammar anymore. My apologies. We've lost all semblance of sanity at this point. But just from the bottom of my heart, this has grown into something so much bigger, so much more meaningful than anything I could have possibly envisioned like 6 months ago. But, even especially a year ago, just with everything that went on last summer. So I'm just really grateful for all of the fantastic science, for all of the fantastic discussion and dialogue. For all of the pet photos, you all really came through for me in that opening session. I was so sad that I hadn't received a single pet photo, and I think I've received at least 50 cents. So for those of you who haven't seen that, go both to Twitter and to our water cooler on the app for some amazing pet photos of all the SRS-22 pets. But all in all, I think I'm just going to reiterate and echo what I said a few times over various chats. Let's just go #SRS forever. thank you all from the bottom of my heart again. It's been such a fantastic couple days.
Awesome. And one last thing I want to be sure to say that I forgot earlier as far as next steps. So as I mentioned, if you're interested in the financial side of next steps, please let me know and I'll help get you set up there. If you're interested in helping plan this and figuring out next year's conference, if you would please email Dr. Amy, that would be amazing, because we definitely need the help to keep this going. We don't want to let this die here. It was too good to let this die here.
And whoever wants to help, we are all in as well. So excited to get more hands on deck.
Awesome. Any other last words? Well, thank you again for coming and being a part of this. And just we so appreciate you taking a chance on us, and we enjoyed the heck out of it, and we hope you did as well and got a ton of value out of it. So thank you for that.
Thanks, folks.
And Fiend.
Thank you.
Thanks all. Here.